let's go beat some things up in pseudo podcast. Part of the reason why I wanted to hit the record button is if we are going to talk about stuff, we might as well talk about whatever. That said, let's not talk about DMCAs because gosh darn, so much of it. Instead, let's talk about what should we talk about. The problem is there's like only a couple of things on my brain right now. Outside of whatever. Oh, I mean, I guess we put up the Maneater video today.
Oh yeah, that was so cute.
I am really
did a great job.
I'm really happy with how that seems to be turning out. I was talking about this while I was playing Astroneer, but I might as well kind of move the topic over here a little bit. But I do think I'm gonna have to like change how I start doing content. A lot of things this year have kind of switched around. One of the biggest things from my perspective is just the fact that like there are more games than ever. So like, you know, a couple of years ago I could do like an indie game lightning round and more or less get through like an entire month's worth of releases that I didn't care to do like full series on and then do full series on the rest.
I really think it's because video game making tools have become more accessible. More people are fans of games and want to develop them or create artwork for them or 3D model or program, etc. And the other thing too is, in recent years, look at all the isekai manga that we've brought up throughout the series. Yep. Look at all the movies and the media that has focused around gaming. Gaming is...
It's huge.
It's huge now, and it as an industry, I think, might someday eclipse movies, if not already.
I think they have. I know streaming is like one of the biggest, like, burgeoning industries in the world. At least I want to say it is, and I think gaming in general, like if you include every aspect of gaming, including like the mobile market and microtransactions and stuff, that yeah, actually, that is straight up bigger than television and possibly even movies. Would somebody be willing to look that up real quick for us, actually?
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is I find that video game characters, video game merchandise, video game props, costumes, etc., they're so much more marketable than film characters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Look what up. How much money does the video game industry make as a whole?
Has it eclipsed the film industry? Like, what has it eclipsed? That's what we're trying to determine. But I really do think that, I mean, comic books has been declining immensely. I keep reading articles about how the comic book industry is going to die.
I don't think it will, but I do think it will transition. I think...
It's one of those things where I think people have lost faith in Marvel and DC.
I've just lost all interest in the comic books because there's no permanence to it.
Well, right. They always do reboots. They always revamp a character every so often. You always have the same villains. You always have the same heroes. They're finding that people are gravitating towards indie comics, web comics, and manga. Because they are these stories that have a beginning and they have an end.
So I was going to say, like, graphic novels, web comics, manga, all that stuff will probably take over. I get the feeling we're going to see out of the American... I mean, we've already seen this to a small degree, but I'm gonna say, especially post... we should come up with a... Oh... Somebody had pointed out that if you bring up, you know, the current state of the world in, you know, the specific terms, YouTube actually will give you less monetization, and they are very correct on that one.
Oh, wait, what's going on?
So, like, if I mention the CV, if I mention CV...
What's that?
Come on, Shell. Brain. Current state of the world, CV, 19.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. If you actually, like, mention it specifically by name, you get less ads.
Oh.
So we need to come up with a proper code name for it.
The
so
plague!
we can talk about it. No, that's literally not, that doesn't work.
Oh.
That's not a code name.
Oh.
It's like calling a gun a firearm. It's the same thing. Okay.
Heartworm.
Big sniffle. That's way too cutesy of a term for it.
Heartworm.
Oh, gosh. Heartworm is gross.
I know heartworm is gross, but it works.
Does it?
I mean, the first word literally means heart.
Oh.
I don't know.
Heart bug? Heart bug.
No, but then I'm just imagining a cute little bug.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's see, you're confused. Please explain.
No. We can't say it.
We mildly can't. I mean...
I know I'm literal.
Betsy, call it after the most toxic person you know. That'd be a problem. That would actually get back to us.
Mm-hmm.
We almost made a video on that topic the other night. Like
that wasn't the first person that came to mind.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you thinking of somebody from college?
Yeah.
Oh. Her?
No. One of your friends.
Oh.
Who utterly betrayed you.
Yeah.
But in any case, nah. No, but the second person that came to mind is currently the chief.
Yeah. Keep getting dumb questions about that, and I hate it. And so it's just like, I'm gonna just talk about this openly and, like, just kind of say, like, my piece on the matter, because I didn't a couple years ago. And then it's just like, writing shit like that is not easy. There's a reason why I'm not a drama YouTuber, and that's because it's not worth it for me.
Well,
and I'd rather do, like, a billion other things.
But why did we even get on the topic of what YouTube will monetize? We were talking about comic books, for goodness sake.
Yeah, but in the wake of Heartbug, I'm gonna go with Heartbug because Heartbug sounds way better than Heartworm.
Okay.
Oh, how about Bad Vacation? No.
No.
The Longest Holiday. Anyway, in the wake of that, I'm gonna bet we're gonna see a lot of industries move over to like
digital.
A lot of digital stuff, yeah. But no, I was gonna say I would honestly not be surprised if we don't see a lot of like small independent creators who lost their jobs along the way, and like straight up do not have proper job prospects because no one's hiring.
Mm-hmm.
And so people kind of doing effectively what I did. You know, no one hired me for a couple of years, so I just kind of worked on my own thing on the side to keep myself going.
Right. It's interesting how when I talk with my friends, it seems like either you're in a position that's necessary, medical positions, for instance.
Yeah.
Or you're self-made and you have something that can be done from home and almost entirely digitally. And any of my friends that had to work in retail or in schools or with it, they can't work. And many of them have been laid off or furloughed. But I think it would be bad if everyone went into a gig economy, because we've seen it happen, and we've seen
I think there's a difference between the gig economy, though, and the being able to... I'm not going to say self-sufficiency, because I think that's not quite the right term.
I suppose the gig economy wasn't what I meant.
Because gig economy is like working for Uber or Lyft
Oh, yeah. People
or
are...
Instacart, which, like,
People
that's
are-
not great.
Right, people are going to be forced into doing that, though,
Yeah.
and then they won't have further protections from having a steady employer.
And
But the other thing, too... will
I mean,
be-
plus side is a lot of laws are finally coming out to legislate somewhat in favor of actually, you know, forcing, say, Uber to pay health insurance. Because it's not okay that you can work, say, like 80 hours a week for Uber, but not be classified as an employee to some regard. And, you know, they just foist all of those extra bills on you just because.
What if the person's car breaks down
Yeah.
and such? It's such a...
Like,
There's risk, so much risk involved.
But
what I meant to say, I didn't mean gig economy. I was trying to think of a word for it, and that was what came to mind. But I am worried that you're going to find a bunch of people trying to monetize things from home, and the first thing that they do is theft. That is what I'm really concerned about, because drop shipping has become huge.
I think the thing is, though, like, a lot of that stuff has a very short shelf life and is pretty much good. Like, the market is going to cause the bottom of that to fall out to begin with. Because, like, the reason why you've seen it boom is because suddenly you have a lot of desperate people that need some kind of funding that will do literally anything to achieve it, even if it's, you know, not ethical.
And there's all these sites that allow you to make money very easily by just uploading a couple images.
Yeah, but, like, that worked a couple years ago, but nowadays it doesn't work at all.
Really?
'Cause, yeah, I mean, for the sites that stole my shirt, they were covered in thousands of those, and, like, maybe they get a handful of sales.
Well, the thing is, we'll never know. But I know,
kind
for
of.
instance, that when my artwork was stolen for those stupid diamond paintings, some of those did sell.
Yeah,
I know they did. I saw
serving a niche
evidence of
hobby
it.
seems to be the trick, but, like, stealing art to put on a t-shirt, I think that works in a couple of cases. I mean, we've definitely seen some people that got tricked by that, which is such a tragedy in and of itself, because the quality is worse, and, like, you know, now they have this
I'm seeing people
bad thing.
making a murder with fake magic cards.
I still don't fully believe they actually succeed. Like, I don't believe those sales details in the slightest. But even then, like, I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem as you think it is, because those are the kind of things that immediately get noticed for being not good.
Well, and hopefully, if more attention is brought to it, then there'll be more regulation in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
the more prevalent it is, of course, the more regulation there's going to be.
But once again, we got a little off track. You're talking about
Yeah.
the comic book industry
Yeah.
and how games have surpassed a lot of mediums
Well,
in popularity
yeah,
and industries.
I think for like the indie market specifically, it's very easy for anybody to become a game developer and to make like a full-length game. I mean, take Stardew Valley, which is arguably one of the most influential and successful games in the last decade, made by one dude. And like, I know people that still play it.
And what about Minecraft and other things?
Minecraft made by a small team of 10. It got bigger. I mean, now I'm assuming Mojang is huge. If only because, like, you know, Microsoft owns Mojang. Let's see. One dude that sacrificed so much had someone supporting him for years. Stardew. Yep. I mean, that's not super uncommon with indie development.
Oh yeah, so many of them have a spouse or parents that backed them up for years.
Because that's the same deal with
Oh, yeah.
Tower of Guns.
And your parents had you in their basement for a couple years.
Yeah. Yeah, that if it weren't for my parents, I I probably still would have kept up with YouTube, but it would have been... no, it actually... I probably wouldn't have changed too much trajectory. I probably would have just continued to live with you and live off of savings. Yeah.
At the same time, it would have been stressful.
It would have been stressful. I kind of wish I had, though. Because living with my parents, while it was nice, it wasn't the healthiest. It was good for me. I guess the real question is, would this strain from me being an absolute lump for 2 years? Well, it wouldn't have even been 2 years. It would have been like a couple of months, and then it's like, wait, holy shit, I just gained like a ton of subscribers.
But you could have never foreseen that.
True, but I stopped applying for jobs the moment Holy Potato's weapon shop.
Yes, but you can't just say, everyone quit your jobs
No,
and spend
no,
a
I
couple
absolutely
months
can't.
playing video games or trying to make a YouTube channel, because you don't always make it.
Yeah, actually, friend Alexa from the Wholesome Boys, Wholesome Verse? I don't know. I feel like we're all dudes, so I guess calling us the Wholesome Boys is not necessarily erroneous. At the same time, in the interest of maybe eventually having female members, probably shouldn't just go with Wholesome Boys as a name. Not that I have any immediate ownership over anything that happens in that group. I am mainly a guest. Guess? Tertiary member? Something? I'm kind of happy with that. At least for now. Anyway, so he was talking about how smaller creators will often, like, look at larger creators and be like, I would be so big if it weren't for them, and that kind of, like, crabs in a bucket mentality.
Wait, who said that?
Alexa was talking about how smaller creators on YouTube will often have that mentality. We'd have a lot more people pursuing creative endeavors if we didn't have to work to live. This is truth. And the interesting thing is, I think as a whole, if we could restructure society so that, you know, the people that wanted to work in certain industries were the ones that did, that...
No one would ever work in fast food then.
So you'd have to pay more or find an alternative.
Yeah, that's true.
Like...
I'm just thinking of one of the jobs that I would never want to work, and that's one of them.
Yeah, but like imagine if McDonald's actually had to think to themselves, okay, how do we get people to actually work here, or how do we automate it so that we need the minimum number of people working here? Like both of those are kind of win-wins.
With many of those industries, retail and fast food and such, they have 2 to 3 times as many as employees, but part-timers, because they just have people doing a bunch of shifts.
Yeah,
and
well, the reason why they want to keep them
paid
part-time is
so
you can...
They don't want to give them health insurance.
Yeah.
But if they were forced to have fewer but full-time and then also very well-paid employees...
Fair disclaimer, I am a huge proponent of UBI. I feel like as a whole, there would be consequences, but the benefits would outweigh everything. As long as, you know, you actually, like, balance it properly, so there are incentives to go out and do shit with your lives. But, like, part of it is, I lived in my parents' basement for 2 years. I could have done nothing that entire time, and I think I was working non-stop. I was working harder. UBI is Universal Basic Income. Effectively, it's been suggested by a lot of countries and, like, kind of futurists as, like, a alternative specifically to, it's an alternative to industrialization. You know, effectively a lot of jobs are going to get automated to the point where people will straight up not be able to...
Eventually, the population will outstrip the number of jobs that there are. And then people won't have means to work.
Yep. Because, I mean, you've already seen this with, like, a lot of major industries. Manufacturing has either been moved overseas or...
Customer service? That's been moved overseas, or it's all done by robocall.
Yep. Let's see. And so, like, there's a lot of stuff that the internet, industrialization, and a bunch of other stuff is just going to get rid of. And I think that's totally fine. Like, we shouldn't cling to old jobs just to keep the industry around, but we need to provide reasonable alternatives. And I think the most reasonable one is just to guarantee every single person will always have a roof over their head, food to eat, and, health insurance, and internet.
Yep, yeah, definitely at least
and probably
a
like
phone
a
or
cheap phone, cheap computer.
Something that they can use to access the internet. But
yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be this, like, grand state of living, but enough that, like, you don't have to fear being out on the street. Yeah, it's telling that unemployment's now way outpaced what people make while working. Yep.
Yep.
And, like, I think there's this mentality that everybody has to work so hard just to live, but it's like I was reading about this with European countries. You were actually more likely Americans are more likely to pick the first job they're offered because they're so desperate to get a job so they have health insurance, whereas Europeans are actually much slower and generally pick better jobs and better jobs better suited to them. And it's true. Like, for example, I took the first job that would hire me post getting laid off, from the first game studio, where, I was applying for jobs still, but I worked at UPS for a time just doing package delivery. I liked the job enough, but it was definitely not a job that I was suited for.
It was also seasonal work, and it was just something to...
But I picked it up because I needed the money. And so if I didn't have to worry about, like, if I didn't have to worry about immediately money, health insurance, and a bunch of other things, and I guess I didn't. It was mostly to keep myself busy. But by removing some of that situation and the mental strain of it, it actually would have made a massive difference in me being like, yeah, I don't actually want to work as a package boy for $10 an hour, $12
but
an hour.
That was also when you were still with your parents, so at least they could handle...
Let's see, how many jobs did you apply for before you got that yes? As far as, like, small jobs go, many over the years, sort of. Okay, so I've applied to hundreds of jobs over the course of my life. But many of them were utter garbage. Working in a movie theater, working at grocery stores, working at GameStop, working at Barnes & Noble, working at, wherever. And so a lot of those were in high school, and it took me months before I got my first job as a cart monkey outside a grocery store in Burlington, Massachusetts. And that was, frustratingly enough, the only one that allowed me to walk in and apply in person, and they handed me the job that afternoon.
But they were the one that forced you to wear a uniform and those
I hated that
uncomfortable
place.
shoes.
It was actually terrible, but it was the first job that I could find. Was it Demula's? Nah, it was Market
No.
Basket.
But
Let's see. But so, that was the first job I could find in high school. And then I went back there after my freshman year of college, purely just to, have more money so that when I'm in college, I had money. But then in college, or post-college, I got laid off from the Nickelodeon satellite contractor studio. And more or less, after that, I was applying for Vigil, I was applying for Runic Games, I was applying for...
And admittedly, we were probably vastly underqualified for them.
We were okay graduates, comparatively.
But definitely not the level that they would expect.
Market Basket is owned by Demoulas, not a bad company. They were pretty bad to me, and especially during the, who owned the company thing, it got pretty bad, too. maybe not as terrible as some other ones, but like
Yeah.
these were the people that thought wearing business casual in 100+ degree weather was a-okay. And so there was a period of time where effectively the two owners of the company were fighting over who actually like had the rights to it. And so all they weren't like paying employees and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh my.
So the management had to do all of the cart monkey jobs. And I remember my previous manager, who was the one who was so insistent that I'd be outside in, you know, a button-down t-shirt, a tie, a thick, like, canvasy apron, you know, black dress shoes, and so on and so forth. Oh, yeah, you had to have an undershirt on as well, and just, like, stuff like that. Okay, your mother went on strike there. I almost... Nah, probably not. I was gonna say, it's like, there's a very real possibility I might have... That'd be a small world, but I mean, I freaking went to this same college as like Alexa and some other things. My roommate freshman year in college grew up in the same town that I did. Like, small world is constant. But yeah, so when everybody went on strike because of that, I ran into my old manager, who was the one that was enforcing the policies with, I'm gonna say, some amount of glee. He was not the nicest guy. And seeing him go by in his full outfit, because for some reason he subjected himself to his own insane rules, which I actually gave him props for it, but seeing the look on his face, 110-degree weather, heat index, whatever the hell, pushing a cart outside looking absolutely just dismal.
Oh, chat's mentioning Wegmans. I love Wegmans.
Wegmans is great. Wegmans is the best.
It was funny being a Rochesterian. It was interesting seeing all of our college friends come in from Ohio and Boston, Massachusetts.
A lot of Ohioans.
Yeah, it seemed like our school got a lot of people from Ohio and a lot of people from Massachusetts and Boston. It was interesting. But I suppose it's because it's kind of in the middle. Rochester is in betwixt them. But in any case, yeah, Wegmans is Rochester's grocery store chain. That then now they've spread out. They made one in Burlington, right?
Yeah, they did.
And then they might have a couple.
It was a really nice one. Scattered
around the Northeast, but that's just a glorious grocery store, and I miss their stuff. I miss it so much. They have a little cafe. Most of them are outfitted with cafes that you can eat things in, and
I'm curious how they've been handling, the heart bug, because one thing that I've been using the past couple months is to kind of determine what companies I want to support in the next, like, 5, 10, 20, 30 billion years. You know, which of these companies treat their employees well, pay extra, enforce, proper mask wearing, and so on and so forth. Because, like, the main grocery stores we use around here are Whole Foods and, effectively, Kroger, though it's called Fred Meyer in this area, and they don't. And I'm really disappointed by that, because I was just... Like, at the start, they seemed very progressive. You know, we're going to make sure all of our employees are paid extra and treated well, and then maybe, like, 2 months ago, they're like, yep, nope, emergency's over. There goes the bonus pay and all the extra measures. Good luck, kids. Mm-hmm. And then every time we go, it's just, like, filled with people not wearing masks or, like, ignoring proper social distancing.
Well, I think now everyone's mandated to have them.
Well, yeah, if people actually enforce it, and that's the problem.
But
so
we got into all of this because we were talking about
graphic novels, indie games.
Graphic novels, well, mostly how you've been very busy with games, and it seems like there's more games than there ever were before.
Yes.
And yeah, when we were kids, the only games that you really heard about were the new games coming out onto the major consoles, maybe a couple of PC titles. PC gaming still had a number of small games, but a lot of them were weird and educational or, like, oriented towards kids. And then you would have Game Boy games and some handheld games.
Yep. I mean, there were tons of games. The games industry has definitely moved away from handheld. Like, the golden goose that was the Game Boy, I'm not going to say is dead, it's just the Switch now, which actually is pretty great. But I feel like development isn't as pushy there. They have mandatory masks, screen between the shopper and the cashier. Cashiers have to wear gloves. Sanitize. Damn, that's good. That's a lot better than what we got around here.
But yeah, I thought they did put up something akin to plexiglass and stuff too.
They did for maybe some of the things, but like half the people weren't wearing masks.
No, I'm talking about Wegmans.
Oh, Wegmans. Okay. I think they might have had it around here. Doesn't matter. Let's see. But yeah, so nowadays, like, there's games coming out every day. And unfortunately, I'm not going to say as, like, one of the primo YouTubers doing, like, indie game quick looks and, like, reviews and whatnot. But, like, as one of the more active people checking out every game to see if they're good or not, I have a lot of PR people emailing me daily, being like, hey, can you check my game out? Hey, did you check our game out? Like, I've got a...
I was supposed to help you with those emails.
Yeah,
I have to get on a computer and do that.
I would appreciate that.
Because Wander sometimes misses out on keys. People give him keys to things, and...
The thing is, like, I miss out on so much just because I can't play everything.
That too.
And so it's easy for me to just say, like... I'll just get to it when I get to it.
You also get the weird people wanting you to sponsor and advertise for their weird apps out of other countries, and definitely things I wouldn't trust. We've definitely received one or two spam mails that looked like they were going to try to hack your your Google account.
I was talking about that with my... A lot of people are mad at me for my Slormancer video because I was talking about how somebody had tried to pretend to be one of the devs and you know, to get access to my channel.
People were upset about that?
Yeah, because I talked about it for so long.
Oh, okay. Maybe they just wanted you to play the video or the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Whenever people complain about stuff like that, I'm just like, I don't know. I ignore them. Sometimes I just get on a topic.
I mean, we're doing that with this. I mean, then again, in this game, we're running about this ancient city that had
normally I
once
wouldn't be doing the side
quest,
quests, but the side quests here are kind of easy.
You're just killing things. Is that what it is?
Yeah, because we were just supposed to hunt down like a...
Actually, you wouldn't necessarily consider it killing if they don't have souls or any kind of sentience.
Just destroy a bunch of mechons.
I came up with a really good word. No, I can't think of it. Dismantling.
Yeah.
That's better.
Speaking of, there's a game called Dismantle coming at some point that I'm really looking forward to.
And what's it about?
I mean, it's effectively just isolated survival stuff. But it's made by the people that made Lovecraft versus Tesla and some other things. Mainly, it just looks good because they do a lot of destructive terrain stuff, and so you're dismantling, like, the environment to make your own, like, base and equipment. And that looked really cool. Such a good game. It is a great game. I wish... My only wish is that all of the side quests were just a little faster. Or just non-existent.
Or, as I said before, that there are fewer side quests, but they actually have a little bit more dialogue and meaning to them.
Yeah. I will always stand with that one. Anyway, let's see.
The music in this area is really pretty. I love the singing.
Yeah, the music ever since... I mean, the music's always been very good, but ever since we stepped foot on Mechonis, got, like, real good. Yeah, biggest problem is I just have to hunt down, like, 6 of pretty much everything here.
M55 Dread.
I could probably, not fight as much and we'd still get it done. So there's that. I should check to see if any of these are timed. Because that probably would make a major difference. I just kind of wanted to talk without getting interrupted by plot.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love the plot.
Oh, that's interesting. You have to crawl
Whoops.
across never mind. The body of an Entia.
I didn't do it.
Well, not Hyentia, sorry, Telethia.
Yep. So if you just kind of pop off of it. Hey, menace statue, though.
Oh.
I'll take that. The one problem is at this point, Shulk is, like, way too strong. So it's actually making it less likely for me to want to use anybody else because he just rips through everything.
Are any of the characters getting high levels of affinity towards one another?
Kind of. It's a very slow process. You're supposed to use the heart-to-hearts.
Well, where are the heart-to-hearts?
We should go back and find them at some point.
So, are there progression levels for... does each character combination have a lukewarm,
Yes,
moderate, really like, and then absolutely best friends?
So, Shulk and Rhine, absolute best friends. Shulk and Sharla and Fiora, good friends.
Oh,
And then
poor
he-
Melia.
Yeah, and so I could probably actually switch Sharla out at this point.
Sharla is pretty chummy with how many people?
Sharla is chummy with the most because she's always in the party. So I don't have to worry about her too much.
Okay, how about Riki? I suppose you've used him the most with Shulk and Rhine and Sharla.
Mm-hmm. And so, we're going to have to either give a lot of gifts, or we're going to have to, let's see, we're going to have to give a lot of gifts, or we're going to have to go do those heart-to-hearts, which we want to do
banana.
no matter
Oh, banana.
what. Oh, banabra.
Greasy assist? Ew. Prairie flower. Electric cricket. Scissor bug.
And sends a set of pincers that lubricates with a secretion. Gross.
Blue light ant. Wait, fairy tail diode? What is this?
Spring shaped like a grape. Why is it shaped this way? No one knows. Say, gazing into the red light traps you in an enchanted world.
Ooh.
So now I just have to find a plant.
Dramatic night.
Okay. Let's go here. But yeah, so talking about like massive amounts of indie games and so on and so forth, is that it's actually getting to the point where it is straight up not feasible for me to do series on like, I'm gonna say 99% of the games that come out. Which is actually kind of a problem because like even a couple of years ago,
I wouldn't say it's 99.
well, I mean,
I would
there's
say
a
maybe
lot
about
there's a lot of trash. So
80.
I'm being a little hyperbolic, but like if you look at the Steam's like new releases list, it's just filled with the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just terrible junk. And so, hello.
Yeah, I was looking through VR games the other day, and we found some good ones. Some of which I believe you purchased, did you not?
Yep. Yeah, so we got a bunch of VR games, many of which we never even heard of before, which, to be fair, we don't keep an eye on it, but still. But it very much is one of those where it's like... it very much is one of those where it's like, I can't feasibly play all of these games, even if I wanted to. Yeah, VR stream coming soon. Possibly? What I need
We want to finish Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah, I want to finish Half-Life Alyx, and I would love to do a couple of VR lightning rounds, because I think that would be real cool.
We found a couple of these really nice VR games that are shorter.
Yeah.
Maybe only about 3 hours long.
No matter what, I'm not committing to finishing any of them, though. I know you keep pushing for it, but, like, the problem is 3 hours is actually a lot of time compared to the amount of video games that I have on my plate.
Yeah, true.
And so it's like, while it would be incredibly rad
My issue with some of these VR games, though, is that they're very story-based and also puzzle games. And where you're interacting with things in the environment and finding lore and such, it's a little bit less about just combat.
Yeah. And I realize and recognize that these are not going to be games that I'm going to be capable of, getting the full sense of them within half an hour. But that's the only amount of time that I have. For example, we have maybe 3 hours left of Filament tops, and we need to get back to that. But like, straight up, haven't had time for it. Are we enjoying Half-Life Alyx? I am. I think Half-Life Alyx is a really solid game. I think my biggest issue with it is I just wish I had more ammunition, so I didn't feel like I had to constantly scrounge for it.
I loved it. I love VR games. I just didn't like all the little head crabs leaping at me, and Wander was getting motion sick watching me.
It
so
was not comfortable for me to be...
He insisted on playing for the remainder of the game. Which is good, because I would not have been able to stand the level where you had the...
Immortal dude chasing you.
Yeah, because we had played Resident Evil 2, and I was freaking out every time that Mr. X...
Yeah, Mr. X came by.
Right,
yeah.
right, because there was no stopping him, and he would always come for you. And I hate that. I hate games where you have immortal enemies and you just have to maneuver around them. That is genuinely frightening. But that's the point of having them in specific segments.
And so I think it would be much better for me to specifically give up on playing all but the absolute best games that I have on my plate, and only play those to completion, or play those further. But yeah, just give everything the 3-episode rule. But I think it's going to be 1 hour tops, and then I decide if I truly need to keep going. What's a good example? One Shot. When we played that was a game that felt like we needed to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was...
But it's been out for a while.
It's been out for a while. So
you didn't feel the need to put the first episode up.
Yeah, so I'm going to hold on to that one for a little while, then probably once we're done with a lot of other obligations.
We finished Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
And you haven't put any of that
Well,
up.
yeah, mainly because the Resident Evil 1 playthrough did terribly, views-wise. I'd have to go back and double-check, but I'm pretty sure it did, like, super bad.
The other thing, too, is I think we finished Resident Evil 2 in preparation for the new Resident Evil 3, and then reviews came in and people said that it wasn't worth it.
That it was okay. Yeah, and so I ended up picking it up for the Steam Summer Sale.
Oh, Summer Sale.
For, like, $40 as opposed to the full 60.
Okay.
And so we'll probably play through that sometime in the next couple months. That should be it. But yeah, I absolutely adore Half-Life Alyx and a lot of the VR stuff. I don't think the hardware doesn't quite match the software yet, which is a bit of a shame. Because you can definitely tell, like, it's a little grainy and your peripheral vision isn't the greatest and, like, a couple other things.
I just love feeling like I'm in
But it's
the
super
game.
cool.
Movement will always be the least immersive thing of VR.
If it ever got cheap, well, I don't know.
Well, if it becomes commercially available for homes, maybe if we do have a giant setup in, say, a nice finished basement or something, you might be able to get those treadmills. There's a specific VR treadmill that they've been developing that is omnidirectional.
Yep.
So it means that you can sidestep, and you're probably not going to be able to get combat where you're dodging right and left and strafing and such, but you might still have to do a roll for that with a click of a button. Ooh, actually, that's something I haven't considered. You really shouldn't do rolling in VR games.
Correct. You'll have to do other things. At least until we figure out, like, full dive or something crazy like that.
Oh, they're not going to be able to do that anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not soon. I don't know.
I think before they even approach something like full dive, what they're going to have to do is first figure out if they can directly stream images into someone's mind. Which I don't even want to think about it.
So is there a way to mark stuff as spoilers? Unfortunately, not on Twitch. Yes, on Discord, but not on Twitch. Let's see. But yeah, so it would be rad as hell to have infinite time to play infinite video games, but instead it's probably better from my perspective to, yeah, do a lot more like one-offy kind of things. And honestly, like, that's been working out for me better than most of my regular playthroughs. Which I kind of always knew it was going to be like that.
The unfortunate thing is, with YouTube, usually people watch the first episode or two to gauge whether or not they like the player, or maybe they just want to see what the start or the gameplay of a particular game looks like, and then they go, oh, maybe I'll buy it, or maybe I'll find someone else to watch, or...
It's a little tragic, but it honestly doesn't bug me too much, because I totally understand. I find a lot of people also kind of are suffering from content fatigue, where, you know, it's easier to kind of constantly search for new experiences, even if they're more ephemeral, than actually going for the full experience. And so, like, I don't know, I can't blame people too much for their viewing habits, because I totally get why they are the way they are and things they are the way they are. I don't know.
I always get sad, though, when people have enjoyed a series that we started and didn't have time to finish, and they go, are you going to finish it? Where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
Then again, I don't know if we would have ever been able to finish something like The Witcher. Oh, man. How far were we through that?
Not. We were not far. I don't actually know where we are.
I'm just hearing fireworks all over the place.
Yep, it is nonstop.
It's interesting. Living in a state where fireworks were illegal, with the exception of professionally overseen celebrations. It's interesting when you're living in a state where anyone has access to them, because it's scary. And also, back where I lived in my hometown, we had, just from our driveway, a beautiful view of fireworks over one of the neighboring parks. It was actually such a good view that people would sometimes stop their cars on our street, or even attempt to to park themselves in our front yard, and we'd have to go, no, shoo. But so for me, July 4th was it was a magical time in a way, because we would have our family over and some friends, and we'd have a dinner.
I think my problem is...
And then we would go out in the front yard, and I'd always bring my lightsaber. I wouldn't have it on during the performance, but after the performance, I loved having it on, because it was one of the few nights of the year where everyone had their lights off so that you could see the fireworks. And it was also really cool doing all of my twirls and finesses, or whatever they call it. It's not a flourish? Yeah, flourishes in the front yard, and people were amazed because I had a replica saber, and the Master Replica's effects lightsaber from Mace Windu. So people thought that it was a real, not a real lightsaber, but the kids thought it was a real lightsaber. It wasn't one of those ones that would telescope, and it had a really impressive glow in the dark. Yeah, I like the replicas that they've been able to make now for lightsabers. But it was just nice sitting out on the driveway in our fold-out chairs and watch the fireworks. But we've just been, for the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
we've just been hearing pop,
I mean,
pop,
pretty
pop,
much the
pop,
entire
blam.
month of June, we've been hearing fireworks kind of on and off. Not as much, but this weekend especially, it's just going to be nonstop. I think I would be more mad, except for, well, no, I don't know. I'm honestly less bugged about the fireworks and more bugged about the fact that we are going to have a big old heartbug boom as a result. And that... I got a quick check.
Oh yeah, some of our neighbors are having family over that we've never seen before. Who knows how far they've come. But...
let's see. But yeah.
A thing that always made me concerned, though, with fireworks is the potential to start fires. Especially in dry climates or in drought conditions.
Yeah. I'm worried about that, but I still will consistently be perpetually afraid of cases around here getting out of hand. Because, like...
stay inside some more.
Yeah, we will. But it's kind of one of those where it's like... I don't, you know... We have friends that specifically can't. You know, that have to go out or have to interact with other people. And it's kind of one of those where it's like, thus far, I've been very lucky to not know a single person.
My family members have known people who got it.
Yeah. But like...
But never themselves.
But I have enough people that I care about for obvious reasons that it's like, I don't want to find out that, you know, they got it.
Especially because of a celebration.
Yeah.
It's why our wedding is off.
Yep.
Or at the very least, it's been postponed. At least the party.
Where'd this guy come from?
Because we were going to have it in the fall. But no more. Can't risk it.
I feel kind of bad that they took Zord, who was a really, like, unique and interesting design, and just turned him into a generic.
Then he became the mass.
Yeah, the mass-produced phase.
Mass-produced one.
Poor Zord.
They should have made Zord a little unique.
Slightly different. Maybe just giving him 4 arms.
More arms or a slightly different mask. But, yeah.
I have to, like, unfortunately, get some kind of drop off these guys, which I don't really care about. But every time I'm in the immediate area, I'm like, oh, just kill them as I go by. Huh. If I should actually just switch Charla out. I kind of wanted to get Shulk and Charla's friendship points to maximum before I switch them out, but I don't know how long that's going to take. Yeah, screw it. Party, Charla, get out of here. Give me Riki. Okay. No. What?
Oh, something's up there.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to go for earlier, but I got distracted because there were other things.
It's amusing how you can run past many of these. Oh,
there we
wait,
go.
A Telethia.
Yeah, we never went up this direction.
What did that say?
We were just supposed to investigate these. They're Phoenix Telethia.
So then maybe they would rain fire down upon the Mechon.
Oh, there's actually a mid-boss up in this.
Oh.
Well, let's see how this group does.
97 grand.
We don't have a healer. Should be okay. Let's see. Happy 4th, everyone. Ain't it still the 3rd? 4th, I guess, for anybody in
Maybe for the
Eastern,
East Coast.
yeah.
It makes me wonder, what song do you associate with July 4th?
Don't know.
Because there's, unfortunately, the national anthem is typically used in sports games. That's most of the instances where I ever heard it was prior to a sports game. But I suppose there's also the, like, you're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you reign. Wait, wave? I think it's wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true under red, white, and blue.
There's something kind of uncomfortable about a lot of American songs for me right now.
Yeah, and it's difficult to be celebrating your country when you're not very proud of the direction that it's going in and how it's been handling not only itself but its international affairs and a whole host of things.
Internet's promoting cultural stagnation. Ish.
What's promoting stagnation?
He's saying that internet is promoting cultural stagnation. I don't know if that's the case. I think the thing is what the internet is doing is promoting a series of rapid cultural upheavals on a year-to-year, month-to-month basis that both globalizes us in a freaking hurry, and also homogenizes us to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm considerably less tied to the culture of my family back home than I am, say, compared to internet culture-ish and, like, a bunch of other things. But that also means that because nobody has shared traditions, there's a lot more... Well, because people have less...
Yeah, imagine if everyone, yes, they... It depends on the country, but let's go say that most industrialized countries achieve... where every member of their populace has access to the internet and interacts with people in other countries frequently and such. And I mean, increasingly, you're finding that people are also interacting less with one another in the real world and then also less with their environments. And maybe I'm feeling this a lot now because we haven't been outside for... Ooh, the shrine transporter.
Yeah, we'll get closer to that soon.
For ages. But I feel like, in a way, there will be a point where people don't really identify with the country that they're living in as steadfastly as past generations would. Also, remember how in the... even the last century, there were major world wars and just international conflicts that polarized people against one another. And how it seems as though in recent years you see it. You see it on the news in vivid detail, what's happening elsewhere. And I don't want to say that it... I don't know how to articulate myself here. Where there's never really been a time where people have been able to glean into the lives of people in another country, in another part of the world so easily and gain a kind of understanding and maybe even have the means to go and visit. Because could you imagine people going on vacations to Europe and to Asia and to Africa and to Australia? And
I mean, that sort of thing happened constantly, but not in the speed that it is. But like,
no, but before airplanes, like big, the 747s and such, you didn't really have people jet setting all over the world. You had very slow boats.
You had a lot of people jet setting, though. Like, there were a lot of people exploring Middle East and Africa as kind of a leisure activity.
Yeah, but they were the wealthy.
True.
More people within the middle class have been able to explore the world, but
I don't know. It's like, I guess from my perspective also, I feel like culture is something that should be shared heavily. Like, I was talking to a Vac a couple weeks ago when we were playing Terratech, and I asked him what, like, some of his favorite Welsh foods were.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, since written them down.
No!
Oh, that didn't work. And so at some point, I actually would very much like to...
So what were they?
Oh, they're written down on a pad over there.
Okay.
It's slipped my mind a little bit. But, like, I would actually like to make them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, to some degree, well, absolutely, I would actually say that I am more likely to partake in his culture than even my own. Because I freaking hate lutefisk. It's gross.
Well, look at how much Japanese food that we eat.
Yeah.
Or Thai food that we eat. I cook so many more... though I do make an awful lot of classic recipes that were passed down through my family for generations.
Mm-hmm.
I still have that. But... the other thing, too, is we're in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a huge melting pot of people here. But I suppose even when we went to Budapest, we went to a Thai restaurant.
Yep.
And an Indian restaurant in Zagreb,
I think a lot
Croatia.
of that is also cities. That, like, where
Cities
my
have-
extended family lives, there's not much of a melting pot, and hence part of the reason why I'm not super interested in talking to them.
What would you think about weeaboos and tradition?
I mean, there's such a thing as too much.
Because I was in the anime club back in high school, and there were so many people who wanted to speak Japanese and wear kimonos and cook Japanese food and
I think
live in that aesthetic. I mean, even some of our friends.
Yeah. The problem is the...
But it's a... If you notice there, I said an aesthetic. Like
the
they
misguided
decorate
idealism,
their
I think, is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
That for a lot of people that I know that have gone to Japan, they think it's somehow... I'm not going to say cure-all, because I think that's the wrong term.
Uh-oh. What's going on?
They're trying to get at me. There we go. I just had to convince... had to leave. Dang. That was a good haul. Let's see. Ugh.
What does this have to do with, culture and
with weebs
patriotism?
and stuff? Well, I think the problem is, like, there's this idea of worshipping somebody else's culture as though it is somehow superior to your own, and, like, getting altogether way too immersed in it. even though it's actually, it's not, and it's kind of a fool's venture. So I had, I've known quite a number of weebs that got way too big into, Japanese culture, and then they went over and they were like, it's awesome. And then they went back to, like, live there for a couple of months and came back just being like, man, that sucked. And, like, just kind of didn't want to talk about it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see, you wouldn't call yourself a weeaboo and you love Japanese music and shows and stuff. I mean, that's fine. I just, like, these are the people that would wear, like, a kimono instead of...
There's that one guy on our campus in college that wore a full-on samurai outfit and a katana.
Well,
he eventually got kicked off campus.
He was
because
mentally
of the katana.
ill. Like, the whole katana thing was supposed to be a joke, and then we realized he was being serious. But at that point, he had already ordered the katana.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you know that, like, he had straight up done that to, like, try and impress us, specifically, right?
Wait, what do you mean? Oh, you mean the people on your floor?
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, he was trying to join the frat, and, like, as a joke, people were like, yeah, we'll help you buy a katana. And then he's walking around campus with it unsheathed, and it's like, wait, we thought you were joking. For context, college I went to, a lot of nerds, number of people with...
It was a very nerdy school.
It was a very nerdy school, which is great. But it wasn't very good about mental health positivity. And so, like, if you needed to see a counselor or, like, get proper treatment, it could be months before somebody would even talk to you, which was terrible. And so we had a classmate drop out that specifically, like, needed regular counseling to keep, sane effectively.
Mm-hmm. I think that, yeah.
And so,
Agian brings up a good point, and I was about to say that, actually, that what might be so appealing to people about other cultures is the fact that it is so new and exotic to them.
Yeah, I think so. I just know that there's, like, a certain point where it just...
Then people become afraid that it becomes appropriation, and there's a whole bunch of...
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like... And this is probably a hot take that people might not appreciate as much, but, like, I feel like that sort of thing actually should almost be celebrated to some degree, as long as it's not, like, an offensive manner. But, like, admittedly, I don't have much of a culture to strictly share, that, like, I don't have a very strong cultural identity, and this is maybe part of it. But, like, if somebody, for example, really wanted to get into Swedish culture, I would not be the first person to ask about it, but I'd be like, cool, go for it. Let me know if you find anything interesting, and, like, I'd be glad to share in that experience with, like, another person. And then I find that trying to oust somebody from a culture oftentimes just poisons the whole thing instead.
Mm-hmm. I think it also depends on how far you're removed from it, because...
So you're mostly USA culture, though. I mean, yeah, and so that's part of it, is that, like, I don't come from a particularly strong cultural background, ish, and so, like, from my perspective, my exposure to culture is always as an outsider looking in.
Yeah, and my mom's side of the family has been over in the United States for so long. They're quintessentially American. I mean, they have roots in Britain and France and let's see, they're part Dutch and German and whatnot. But when I think of my mom's side of the family, I think of 1950s America. That's just what strikes me, at least, seeing the way that my grandparents and my great-grandparents and how they lived. My father's side of the family, however, they were more recent immigrants. They were German, Italian, and Greek immigrants in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So, but the interesting thing is, my father, having a Greek grandfather and a German grandmother and a whole Italian side of the family who I don't even know if we've ever really met with them much, but it didn't really seem... It seems like for them, they felt the pressure to fit in. I mean, they even changed their family name.
True.
So that they could fit in. It seemed as though they had shed much of their cultural identity so that they could melt into the, I suppose, the melting pot of New York City back in the day. But then again, there had also been a lot of prejudice and stigma against the Greeks and the Italians. So, I mean, my great-grandmother was even forbidden from marrying my great-grandfather.
And I think that's maybe part of why I'm so, like, I think it should just be shared openly and appreciatively, as opposed to, like, trying to hoard it or something. Because, like, some of my favorite memories with you and your family were going to the Greek festivals. And admittedly, like, not a whole lot of culture shock there. But it was cool, and it was interesting. Going to Croatia, seeing, you know, how they lived differently, what their lives were like. Some of their, like, cultural roots and so on and so forth. You know, same thing with, like, Japanese stuff, or... I mean, kind of anything. Let's see, did Wonder do the 40 push-ups? I totally forgot. I will do it at some point.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's always xenophobia. Yeah, I don't really like that. I guess maybe part of this is that, like, this is mildly coming from the personal background of somebody that was excluded because I did not match a cultural background.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, whenever somebody is like, you know, this is my thing, this is, you know, my cultural thing, this is my religious thing, this is my racial thing, and I'm like, you can't share? Because, like, I actually spent, I think, more time in a Jewish temple in the latter, like, latter couple of years of, like, high school than I did in a church. Because
how was that?
I had so many Jewish friends that I just, like, go hang out with them. And they had Jewish community center events that they would just, like, invite me to, and I'd be like, sweet, I'm down. I have zero interest in, like, converting, but I will gladly hang out with you and, like, see what it's about. And
yeah, my parents would bring friends with me to the Greek festival, for instance. And we went to the Greek festival because we enjoyed the Greek festival. But I did take a little pride in being able to say that I was part Greek. You know?
Yeah. I was just watching The Expanse. They become racist against Martians, Earthlings, etc. Yup.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Hey, we got it all down. Is that it? Oh, there's just history of the mechanics, but this is elsewhere.
Oh. On the fallen arm?
Yeah. Okay, I'll go get this one real quick. I don't even know where this one's going to be, so I'll just land here and we'll figure it out. Jewish culture is fun. Yep. Can't say I care for a lot of Passover food, though. Was it Passover? Shoot, I forget. I'm not a big fan of matzah.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried matzah relentlessly, and just, like, I had it good once, and then all the other times just made me feel nauseous.
Do you know what I think it is when people are talking about the xenophobia and such? I think it's because people tend to look at what makes one another different as opposed to what makes them similar.
Maybe.
I think I may have watched a documentary on it about how humans are very keen to pick up differences.
I mean, I think it's a survival thing, or who knows what else. But, like, I don't know. I guess... I don't know. I guess my problem is I'm just thinking about this from the perspective of just like I would like to experience a lot of different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a little bit perpetually afraid that someday somebody's going to be like, no. And I'm going to be like, why? And they're going to be like, this is my thing. And I'm like, what? Let's see. Did I ever take Shell to a Renaissance fair? Reverse, actually. Shell's more of a Ren fair person than I am.
Oh, yes. My friends and I would go every single year.
I have trouble getting into it just because I find the reenactor people to be a little...
They can be a little persistent.
It's a little much
annoying.
for me. So
some of them will try to sling mud on you or steal your turkey legs or...
Yeah.
I'd feel bad for the people who get those turkey legs stolen, though.
When I was, oh shoot, what was it? When we were in Disney, we got to hang out at the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just hanging out talking, and a guy came over to talk to us, and he started for, I think, the first minute in character.
He pointed out that you were holding the lightsaber bag the wrong way, just as I said you were.
Yeah.
And he corrected you. That was what it was first. But yeah, then he kind of broke out of character and just wanted to chat.
Yeah, and I actually liked that. I was more interested in talking to him.
Because it was so awkward when I tried to ask some girls at a counter about where the Batu cooking book was, like the cookbook was. And they looked at each other and they went, "That is on another planet."
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "Oh, it turns out that what they meant was that it was on another part of the park, in another part of Disneyland."
Yeah.
But it was sold out there anyway, so I wouldn't have been able to get the cookbook there. But I can understand why they would want everyone to remain in character there, but I just wanted to know where that cookbook was.
And then we got it in the end anyway.
People are saying the one in Rochester with the peppermint lemon? No, Sterling. We'd go out to Sterling, the Sterling Renaissance Festival, which was about a good hour and a half drive.
Yep.
But we enjoy it. It's interesting. I think the same lady has played Queen Elizabeth for about 10, 15 years. Can you imagine?
Oof.
It was funny when I worked at Joann Fabrics. A guy came in with his girlfriend or his wife, and it was one of the jousters. And I went, "Wait, you're one of the jousters at the Renaissance Festival." They were buying fabric to make or repair new costumes.
But no, it's kind of one of those where it's like, I think I'm more interested... Oh, wait. No, I guess this is fine. I guess I'm more interested in kind of appreciating the thing than I'm in somebody trying to pretend it to be period specific outside of the shows.
If you think about it, in a way, if you go to a Renaissance Festival and you come dressed up in character too, it's as though it's just role play. It's like a LARP event, except you don't.
Yeah, I think my big issue is just that the LARP itself is awkward for me. That like I'd prefer to nerd out about something in person as opposed to like try real hard to stay in character.
I shouldn't have dressed you up.
Yeah. Like
I tried dressing him up in a basic hooded tunic and
it was a great costume, but it's kind of one of the it's a lot like the people that went overboard with
I was decked
Wield
out
stuff.
I was decked out in my fawn outfit, and it wasn't fantasy weekend, so people were asking what I was, if the horns were real, if I was as promiscuous as fawns were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that was an uncomfortable question.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of those where it's just like, I would rather just go to a Ren Festival and just like have the person come up and start telling me about like cool Renaissance medieval stuff without trying to like do it in a period specific tone.
But
like say talking to a blacksmith, for example, and they're like,
okay. But imagine if you went to a Renaissance Festival that was a D&D tavern town dungeon experience.
no, I think I'd still be super cool with it if it was not like it all in character. I tried doing like RPs servers and like really heavy role playing. Like when we play D&D, for example.
Man, there should be a D&D-esque Renaissance festival. That would be amazing. What you were saying?
Well, when we play D&D, we're not 100% in character all the time. There's a lot of out-of-character talk.
There's a lot of out-of-character talk where we're discussing numbers and voicing our own thoughts. Though, I have seen Dungeons & Dragons campaigns, at least ones on YouTube, where people are in character 100% of the time. I could imagine that'd be so difficult to do. But they manage it somehow.
I'm just not sure if it would feel particularly comfortable for me from like an enjoyment perspective, because for me, the out-of-character stuff is just as important.
Unless the character that you're portraying is enough like you that it isn't too much of a stretch for you to roleplay as them. People are asking what would the difference between a D&D and a Renaissance festival. So Renaissance fairs tend to have... I mean, Renaissance is post-medieval, but they still have knights, lords and ladies, kings and queens, artisans and jesters and peasants and things of that nature, but it's still very much rooted in reality. And it's more of historical fashion and reenactments and such. But if you had something more fanciful, if it was more of a fantasy realm festival, then you would have people dressed up as fairies, and like I was a faun. You might have people as trolls or orcs or goblins. And it would be... It would still have much of the same feel in regards to, say, some of the attire, some of the food, some of the architecture and such. But I don't know, it would just have that... Many Renaissance festivals do have weekends that are themed. The Sterling Renaissance Festival is a good example. They would have a pirate weekend. They would have a fantasy weekend, which is where people do come dressed up as fairies more so. They would have like a Highland weekend, which I think was supposed to celebrate Scotland and Ireland more specifically. What are some other ones? I think they just had a weekend that was mostly for beer and wine. A kids weekend, things like that.
I would love to find a mead festival.
Mead?
Yeah.
Oh, just for mead?
I kind of wish we had ordered some mead.
I could have gotten it.
Yeah, next time. So apparently they had an outbreak like recently and all of the employees are now on strike.
Wait, who?
The
Whole Foods?
Yeah.
Oh.
The Whole Foods near us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they're trying to like keep it hush hush and threatening to like fire people.
What about the food that we just got? I mean, we quarantine it.
Yeah, we did, but like, I'm kind of mad about that.
Well, in any case. Yeah, and I really like the themed weekends.
Yeah.
Though it seems as though my friends and I managed to end up going to the pirate ones more often than not, which is great for my friends who love pirates, but I'm not much of a pirate person.
Yeah, I would definitely enjoy going. I think next time we are capable of going to a Ren festival, I would enjoy going and like actually dropping some money on something cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, around here they had something called Fairy Worlds, which was like electronic fantasy rock music festival, but with all the same Renaissance festival trimmings except fairy themed, and they had a theme day for the good fairies and a theme day for the dark, like unseelie fae. That just sounds cool.
I think there
were some of those musicians with the hurdy-gurdies. Do you remember?
Yep. I was just gonna say, like, as a kid, having that little booklet advertising all the Weta Workshop weaponry
For Lord of the Rings.
for
I
Lord of
always
the Rings
wanted those.
it was just the coolest. I wanted that so bad.
Yeah, I wanted Hat and Fang so bad. Arwen's sword.
Let's see, where are you again? What city? We're currently in Portland, Oregon, at least for the time being.
Yeah, outside of Portland, but yeah. Currently. We're from the East Coast. Moved to Kansas City in the Midwest very temporarily because cheap rent and Google Fiber was really nice to have an opportunity to be independent, but still grow your YouTube channel.
Yep.
While it was still in its fledgling stages.
And now I just I would like moving around and like meeting new people and some other stuff, but yeah, that ain't.
This is going to be the year where we were going to really explore.
We're gonna do
around
all
the area.
sorts of stuff.
But nope. The worker goes all out and has a full suit of armor. Aw, that would be awesome. Carl would never be able to survive in a full suit
that's
of armor.
my problem. It's like
He doesn't handle heat well at all.
I don't. I get really rashy if I'm sweaty.
Yeah, you might be allergic to your own sweat.
I brought that up and my brother was like casting doubt, and I'm like, does it matter?
Wait, your brother doubted you? But
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if you can be allergic to your own sweat. It's like, look, I break out in a heavy rash. Whatever it is.
It is very possible for you to be slightly allergic to your own sweat.
Whatever it is, it ain't good for me.
Yeah, it's weird. Wander's skin sometimes gets a little bit shiny, but not sweat shiny. It almost looks like it's burned. It's weird.
Let's see. Aren't there some better southern states for streaming due to taxing? Kind of, yeah.
We don't want to move south, though.
Yeah, so
Just
actually...
because of the heat.
Yeah. So actually, state is it?
Well, we have no sales tax here, but Washington has no income tax.
Yeah, so technically Washington is actually a really good state. New Hampshire, I think is New Hampshire. New Hampshire has really low taxes. This is definitely something that I think would be somewhat controversial, but I'm actually kind of fine paying taxes as long as it's allocated well. Because that generally goes back to the community in some way, shape, or form, be it like road work or community programs.
Making the area safe and clean to live in.
Yep, better schools. And so, like, I don't actually really care about low taxes. It'd be nice. Federal tax is rough for me, but that's because I qualify as like a business on my own.
Yeah, you have
but
to
I
do
don't get a
more.
lot of the cool tax perks that like actual businesses do.
You have to do a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, and so like I effectively
Which you still have to do.
Yeah, I have to pay out the nose.
Because I think they extended things to July 15th, but that's close. Anyone else here enjoy archery? I love archery.
Yep.
Archery is...
Bow back at my parents' house. Don't think I'd be able to, use it at all.
I always excelled at archery. My friends had a cabin out in the woods downstate, and we would go there to go hiking and cook, and they had a hay bale that they would bring out, and we'd put paper plates on them and each have our own paper plate to aim at. That was a pretty good shot. And we did have an archery section of our, I think it was a high school.
I would love to find like an actual archery range that we could go to somewhat routinely.
But I'm definitely a recurve bow person.
Yeah. Compound bows are fun, but they're too easy.
They're easy, but I also don't like all of the pulleys and the... Do you know what I'm getting at? It doesn't feel like a bow at that point.
Yeah.
It feels like you're snapping something into place, and sure, it shoots very accurately, and it has a lot more force behind it because the pulleys are making it that much more powerful, but I like recurves.
these side quests are so meaningless. Effectively, this lady couldn't get her door open.
People are asking about crossbows. Nope, never fired one. Also, I almost imagine it would be a cross between
I mean, it's like
a firearm and...
I still think crossbows are cooler than guns to some degree.
Oh, yeah.
Just because, you know, it's pure mechanical.
Well, then you don't have to worry about the sound and the thing is, you can always get the bolts or the arrows back, but bullets, no. They're destroyed in the process of being used.
Stop giving me side quests.
I would like to go to an event where people roleplay a little bit more. I suppose...
Am I good?
Going to... Oh, did you finish all the quests?
All of the timed quests.
I suppose going to anime conventions, I was used to people role-playing as their characters. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because you did, like, cosplay troupe and a bunch of other things.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny now that I think about it. Most of the characters that I cosplayed as were rather mysterious and aloof or taciturn. And it means I could be standoffish and people would understand entirely. I was never any goofball characters that really had to perform, if you will.
I think we don't have any other timed quests. I don't know why this is such a big deal for me, but I hate time limits on quests, especially, like, since all the side quests are just nothing. Hey! Not a timed quest, but, Hello, little girl. I brought you some girls.
Friendship. Yeah, prove that friendship is possible between two women.
If you think girls can be just as good friends as boys, prove it. I won't believe it unless you can prove it to me.
I didn't succeed.
Nope.
Well. Oh, yeah, right. I forgot. All of the girls don't like each other that much.
Well, we know why Melia and
everyone
Fiora...
loves Shulk too much.